these are like the five essential Ed Wood movies. He did go on to make a lot of the monster nudie movies. I think he wanted to review one of them. But honestly, I saw those movies years ago and I didn't find anything about what would we talk about? I mean, there's like a
Hmm.
few lines of dialogue, then people dancing topless in a cemetery for like 20 minutes. And then someone else comes out and dance in like a monster suit
Yes.
in like 20 minutes. And I think there was this other one where like he was being dominated by a bunch of women and they had their feet in his face and stuff like that. And it was just some kind of fetish thing for him. And I think there was this other one with like it was a slight porn movie where some guy was getting a blowjob in a coffin. But you could see
Mm.
like the girl giving the blowjob had like herpes on her lip. So it was just kind of gross. It was like I
Oh
don't want to
dear.
watch that again. Because they were showing close up of the blowjob and you could see she had a bunch of herpes on her mouth. And I'm like, what's
So
the point of
it was
reviewing
a
these?
horror film. Yes. Well, you may be right about that. But
Touche. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I'll give it up to you. That's funny. That's funny.
uh, yeah. All right. Well, but you make you've reminded me here that Ed Wood, aside from directing quite a few movies, he also wrote a lot of movies that he didn't direct,
Mhm.
and he also wrote books. He wrote novels that got published. So he was really, for a guy who failed, he had a lot of success in his own way. He got
Yeah.
these books published, he got these movies made. He's sort of an inspiration in a way to no budget filmmakers everywhere. That you can, through sheer force of will, get some things done.
In a way, but he did live a pretty sad life. But
He did.
yeah, I think he was also interviewed with for someone who wrote a book about Bela Lugosi, and I think the guy said he was like very hostile towards them because he felt he should have been writing it. I don't know why he just didn't independently write a book about
Mm,
Bela Lugosi himself and then just try to get it published,
yeah,
because he probably should have. But and I know there was controversy with
yeah,
Lugosi's son, like feeling like would use Lugosi and whatever, but. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
Edward is an interesting
yeah,
guy, but if you do read up on him, it sounds very sad because it didn't sound like there was any
yeah,
passion behind any of his later films. They were just ways to pay the bills, the wives, the divorces, the not paying his rent and just being kicked out. There are days where he had
hmm,
to just get jobs so he can get a check, so he can get alcohol. Couldn't pay anything. It was just a sad life, man. It was a fucking sad life. He took these movies seriously. I mean, if he
hmm,
didn't take them as seriously, it wouldn't be as sad, but because it'd be like, hey, like maybe he was kind of in on the joke. But no, he thought these were actually
yeah.
good movies.
And maybe if he was like the old man in Best Worst Movie, he would say, "I've wasted my life." At the end of it, maybe.
Maybe he did in one of his
But
drunken stupors.
but on the other
So
hand, though, he's famous. Like in spite of all the failure and everything, he's famous. Like most people know his name. Most people know who he is. So in some ways, he succeeded at least becoming somebody.
being a failure. I mean, honestly, that's what
Well,
he's famous for is
but
being a failure. I
well,
guess
I
that's something.
suppose, but he's, you know, yeah. I mean, people watch his movies and enjoy them, for different
Yes.
reasons than what he
Yeah.
intended.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I
I
mean,
guess that,
there's
I
a
mean
lot of people
that's an
out there who
interesting
are much,
that's an interesting way to look at it. It's like what is the price worth paying for fame? You know, you live a
yeah,
miserable life, but after you die, people are still watching your movies. A lot of better filmmakers than you. We're not even talking about them. We don't even know who they are. But there are probably hundreds
yeah,
of filmmakers that were better than him in his lifetime that we don't talk about at
yeah.
all. Hundreds and hundreds and
That's right.
thousands of better movies that we don't even think
Yeah,
about watching that happened while he was
yeah,
making movies. What is the
yeah,
price of that? Living a miserable
yeah,
life, being a complete failure,
yeah,
being a drunk, can't pay your bills, dying in one
yeah,
room while your wife is drunk with your friends in another room, and you're begging for help and
yeah,
they're ignoring you because you've done it so many times. And in the meantime, you died of a
yeah,
heart attack alone on a bed. with people who could save you in the next room. Like, that's a fucking sad life. What is the price to
Yeah.
pay for fame? Is that worth it, knowing that people are going to talk about you? Would you, Angus, want to live that life knowing that we would be some guy like me, some douchebag like me, and some other douchebag like you would be doing some interview in 2055 talking about your movies? And the price is you'll live a miserable life while you're here, but while you're gone, people will be talking about your movies. Would that be
Yeah.
worth it?
Well, I think when I was young, I would have said yes. You know, that would be worth it. You know, to achieve the fame after you're gone. That seems somehow romantic. You know, it's like people will remember me. You know, my work will live on. But the older I get, the less I care about that, and I start to see people who are doing bad work, but they're getting jobs. You know, they're getting paid. They're succeeding. They're achieving stuff, you know, and they're living a good life. You know, they're going to the parties, they're getting the congratulations, even though their work is shit, you know, and we're not going to remember it in even 20 years. But while they're here, they're getting to live the life and they're getting to enjoy the life. And I think that probably that is a better way to be. If you can enjoy the life while you have it, and then people forget about you, that's probably better than if you didn't enjoy your life and then people remember you for 200 years. You know, that's my current thinking anyway.
I don't know what the answer to that question is, but I do know if people remember me as a good filmmaker, it'd be a tougher choice than if people
Yes.
remember me as a bad filmmaker. So
Yeah. But
yeah, I mean that's what successful artists do. They sacrifice.
yeah,
They sacrifice partying so they can, you know, athletes. They sacrifice partying so they can work out and be in better shape. That's what artists do. They sacrifice hours of studying and editing and doing learning techniques instead of hanging out. But that sacrifice is to be actually good at your craft. Is that sacrifice worth it if you're just remembered for being bad? And the time you're spending isn't being good at your craft. Your time you're spending living, instead of having fun, you're not having fun, but you're spending time working really hard. Or the alternative, that's not what Ed Wood's life was, though. It wasn't having fun and it wasn't working hard. It was being depressed, and it was drinking, and it was doing gigs he didn't want to do for the money so he can get more money to drink. It's bouncing around from filthy apartment to filthy apartment, not paying his bills and being kicked out and evicted. It's a tough life. And all that just to be remembered as the worst filmmaker ever. What he's remembered.
Yeah.
That's the tough choice. The tough choice is not wasting your life working hard, not having fun, but then being good at your craft. That's not a tough choice. That's an easy choice. I'll give up having fun if that means I'll be a great filmmaker, you know, and be remembered. That's fine. That sacrifice is worth it. But I don't know if the Ed Wood sacrifice is worth it. That's a tough call.